My name is Jeff Wallace. I'm Director of Sales for North America, Astute Inc., and I head up a team of salespeople at headquarters. Yeah, so with the advent of AI and all the rest of it, edge computing and high-end data servers, I think that memory is going to be impacted for quite a while. It's probably going to change the landscape of how things get done on the supply chain for memory, contracts in place. But for the most part, that's the thing causing the most disruption that we know is going to continue to be disruption down the road. As far as tech trends are concerned, again, the driving factor is going to be the data centers, AI, edge computing, and that's changing the way that companies structure their supply chain for memory. Trying to sign long-term agreements with the factories themselves, trying to make sure that they have sustainable supply for their production because everything goes short constantly, trying to lock in pricing against the greater market, global trends. There's a lot of volatility in place there, but it's driven mainly by the AI. Some of it feels permanent, like forever thing with AI. I don't think they'll ever catch up to demand, and I don't know, nobody has a roadmap as to where it's going to go and how big it's going to get. The rest of the things, the uncertainty, those tend to be temporary. The geopolitical stuff, like for instance, the presidency of the United States, if all goes to plan, should change every 4 years. And with that change comes a new perspective, different business ideas, different relationships with the allies around the world. All that stuff to me means that it's temporary. Those are not long-term things that we have to worry about. They come and they go. But the AI thing will remain disruptive for a long time. I think there's a lot of things that you can do. Little wins, kind of keep wind under people's wings. Recognition, notoriety, pointing them in different directions. There's always an industry or a market out there somewhere that's feeling strain. Try to look at the bigger picture and point your sales team in that direction so that they're motivated, they're hungry, and they're getting some good feedback when they're in their sales cycle. The company provides a lot of the heavy lifting as far as that's concerned. We differentiate ourselves with quality. I've had the privilege of working at a couple top 10 brokers worldwide over my nearly 30 years, and I could say that Astute probably has the most well-rounded capability in terms of quality and the QC operation as a whole. That would be one of the differentiating factors, I think. It's $1 million question. I think if everybody knew that, there would be no need for all these ad hoc additions to a normal supply chain, such as brokers and contracts and BMI programs. I don't know that there's any perfect answer for it, but you can attack it from a bunch of different directions and get a pretty solid outcome, which is what the main companies out there, the tier ones, they tend to do well at that. That's an interesting topic just because I tend to stay in a bubble with my group. I focus almost specifically on our region of the world. I interact with counterparts around the world that do what I do, but I don't always take their version on board because it doesn't always apply. It's not one size fits all. So with that in mind, I think my focus specifically is more regional. We try to be proactive, but a lot of times we're just reacting to what's the reality in our market at that moment. Yeah, so this is a super interesting topic, the one that I really, really wish I had a crystal ball on. In my mind, I see AI taking a lot of the repetitive actions for supply chain and replacing them. Imagine 400,000 people work in the broker industry. I think this time, 5 or 10 years from now, maybe it's 40,000 people, because there's going to be customers out there that require a human touch, but there's going to also be a lot of customers out there, I think the majority, that can automate a huge chunk of the process, which is kind of scary, but people thought the internet was going to change the landscape of what we do and that it would make us obsolete. It only made us more important in the supply chain, so we'll see. Kind of that repetitive data stuff that it's just manual labor, somebody having to look at it and do it over and over and parse out information. What might take somebody 15 minutes to do a task at a time can be done in 0.3 of a second by a machine. In those cases, I think the AI is the ideal solution, but then at the end of the chain, you need somebody to inspect it and make sure that's still the output you expected. Kind of depends. There's a lot of different flavors, ChatGPT, Claude. You can go on and on, name a list of AI companies out there. I think all of them kind of do things slightly different than each other. I think for us right now, the best use case is Claude. That seems to be the one that has the most traction internally. We seem like we're kind of standing on the precipice of falling into yet another shortage. You never know if these things are going to be a couple months or like the last one for years. A lot of different things are kind of driving this, so we're not sure. Like if it's driven by a shortage in production capability and like too much demand at any one time, you can catch up by building more factories and whatever. With this one, it seems like it's coming from many different directions. So it's kind of hard to tell if this is going to be short-lived or something that's going to stick around for a long time. What I do know is right now, I think we have somewhere north of 31 notifications that lead times are extending, 31 different manufacturers. Lead times are extending, prices are increasing, and the volatility is going to be real for a while. I'll probably be obsolete in about 3 years or less. My role will no longer be needed, but I think the boots on the ground, all the way up to the executive level, everything in between, there's a very real risk of AI. I'll say it this way. So I have 28 years of experience, and I have nuance. I've been through 1,000 different scenarios. I understand what a good deal should look like and how it should make its way through the process, what to look out for, just things like that. So you have somebody like me in my position for nuance and detail and experience. If you can program 40,000 of me into an algorithm, and then it can spit out, again, to use the example, it will spit out a decision in 9/10 of a second, why do you need me? So I think in that sense, again, I really wish I had the crystal ball to see, but if I'm a betting man, I could easily see how that function of my role, either I change or that replaces my role.